Railroads completely transformed the world. The world we knew changed form with the arrival of railways, and far-off places got connected. The world took on a whole new look with railways. Welcome to another video. Stick with me, and if you like my videos, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe. But there's more to the story than just connecting distant points. Sure, that's huge, but other things were happening, too. Massive shifts of goods and travelers started happening on these tracks, safer and quicker than before. Yet the impact of railways on the world is way deeper and broader than that. Railways were one of the big game changers of the 19th century. A real trailblazer that managed to change the face of the globe. Back in the 1800s, there were other inventions too, but none quite so significant as the railway that, in a few decades, connected countries and even continents. Plus, it laid the foundation for widespread economic leaps in societies and made lasting geographical shifts. Shifts that, at first glance, might not seem linked to the railroad at all. Like, how did Germany unite? Or the fall of the Tsar in Russia? Railways were the result of merging two separate inventions and two developed technologies. With the advancement of both, the phenomenon of railway transport came about. One person designed an engine while another built tracks for carts to roll on. Steam engines and the advanced technology of producing iron, later steel, were key techs of the Industrial Revolution. When iron and steam joined forces in steam locomotives, they became the backbone of the industrial boom. The revolution in railways didn't happen overnight. This thing we're making videos about today was the end result of a long trail and giant steps through history. People had been brainstorming and crafting ways to lay tracks for thousands of years. Apparently, some 5800 years ago, there was a kind of rail route to manage tough terrains. Little wooden roads that still show their marks in England and China today. It seems like by the 16th century, wooden rails were used in mines, and by the 18th century, iron rails were rolled out, sturdier and longer lasting. But how did so much iron become available to build all these structures? With the invention of the steam engine, iron production rose. The steam engine, when first created, wasn't going anywhere. It was a hefty, big machine that just produced motive power. Iron furnaces with steam engines became more efficient with stronger blasts of air, producing more iron. Increased iron production led to more tracks and innovations in their design. James Watt, a Scottish engineer, took previous models and improved them, inventing a rotary engine that could move iron wheels. They carted this engine off to textile mills and other places, although it was big and heavy. Further advancements in technology slimmed and lightened the steam engine. Iron became popular and its production soared. Researchers studied and fine-tuned, while railways became a widespread phenomenon thanks to this engine tech. By the 1820s, everything was ripe for a big revolution. Techs were more advanced and engineering was officially a thing with its own societies and special journals. But just having these institutions and tech wasn't enough to kickstart a railway with significant impact. It was pricey. Despite solving its tech challenges, railways came with hefty costs. Even a short distance needed a big budget that drew in tons of investment, and yet, more was needed. Railroads weren't something a rich guy could fund alone and set up for operation. A new institution was forming, a fresh entity in the making. Even governments needed new measures and structures to sort their issues. Take, for example, a railway meant to go from point A to B, but there's a problem: folks' lands, properties, villages, etc. What would happen to them? Then came the legal innovations. New orgs and structures had to be built to make this technology work smoothly while driving life and economy forward. Let's take a look at the map. This is the whole world on the map. Look at places with dense railway networks. Generally, these areas are doing better. Probably because richer areas built more tracks and vice versa. Places with railroads experienced economic growth. Makes you think. To whom that has, more is given. Those who have, get more. Building railroads needs lots of cash, but on the flip side, railroads themselves rake in the money, meaning they're a highway for the flow of cash. Money mainly comes from trading goods. Now, you can take goods from one place to another. With the new railroad in play, trading goods becomes a way to wealth. Before, mostly goods were transported by sea, but seafaring had its limits. Not everyone was near water and ships couldn't carry that much. Railways removed these obstacles, causing a massive shift in transportation. Now you can move stuff in volumes and amounts that were once unimaginable. So, me being a textile weaver, I can now ship my products to farther cities, meaning my market can expand, so I can scale up my production and tech, and reach people who are miles away. The fact is, with railroads allowing for heavy and large items to be moved, I can produce and sell big and heavy goods, cause we can sell these. What does that mean? It means anyone with good production will grow more. They'll upgrade their facilities, the whole, to whom that has, more is given, spiel. Despite all the expense and challenges, they began building railroads at an astonishing rate. In Europe and then in America, by 1860, over $1 billion in today's money had been privately invested in railways, a colossal amount for the time. It's massive, and you might think new tech needs a bit to catch on, but actually, in a short time, 30 major railroad lines had been created across the world. Immense scale projects were launched that you couldn't just start today, like someone saying, I want to connect two sides of a huge continent. These stories seem really wild and awe-inspiring. Opens up a new window to the history of these areas and countries. Just like the Transcontinental Railroad linked the western and eastern coasts of America, from these stories, you can dig into various American attitudes and spirits. Lincoln was president, why did he suddenly think of the railroad? You can ponder the way it was built and its effects. Railways were techs that compressed space and time, turning 6-month journeys into a week. While ships might make one trip and arrive, trains had already made 6 round trips, moving more loads each time than the ships, meaning they were fast and consistent. Indifferent to weather changes, its speed and reliability boosted trade and deals in Europe, and then America rapidly grew. Both in volume and pricing went down. It got cheaper. In conditions where it was easier to travel to Europe than to California, Americans saw the future in their western lands. The zeitgeist of that time was, wanna get rich? Go west. Looking for the future? Go west. Wanna be somebody? Go west. The West was the new horizon. The path to progress was open. These images have remained in American public culture forever. The 1840s was the era of the California gold rush. When gold was found, a flood of folks headed over there, hoping to strike it rich. The rush toward gold, or the gold rush, kicked off. Now, how to get to the West? It wasn't an easy trip, taking months to reach, and if they were lucky, they survived, braving the cold of the Rockies and the scorching desert heat. Think about those pioneering out into the heart of the desert, looking for a future in far reaches of the continent. What kind of people are they? What kind of ambition drives someone to such extremes? Takes guts, for sure. But enough about that. If someone didn't want to go by land, what option was left? The seaward route wasn't too promising either. Had to go around the world, under South America, to reach the shores of California. This was a world where transportation from one point to another was tough, a world where railway was on its way. Initially, short and scattered lines were built in America, mostly in the East. Then an ambitious engineer came along and said, we're gonna build a transoceanic railroad. Some hard-working companies were stretching 10 miles of track, but he wanted to go 2,000 miles. This one engineer managed to convince 4 investors that building such a thing back then was not only possible but could also be profitable. These 4 backers were called the Big Four. One of them, a man named Stanford, later built Stanford University. They established the Central Pacific Railroad Company and began an ambitious project. The project was so intriguing that even the government was eager to support it. But at that time, America was in the middle of a civil war between North and South, and this war suddenly drew Lincoln's attention to the importance of railroads. If the central government wanted control over its territory, railways were essential. Without it, moving forces would be too slow. Our talk led us to see governments in other countries like Russia and Germany were also mulling over how significant railways could be. In America, this thought encouraged the government and the legislature to willingly invest in this project. The Transcontinental Railroad project was approved and implemented, with a twist unforeseen for the Big Four. 2 companies had to build the railroad from both ends, one from east to west, the other from west to east, until they met in the middle. Now, these 2 companies were wrapped up in competition. Whoever laid more track got more money and resources. And the government had to decide where these 2 lines would join. People expected this to be done right, as any delay or tiny mistake could have wide-ranging impacts and pose new challenges to society, legal, economic, social. Railroads seemed to have fostered the creation of joint stock companies, because it was a big, complex endeavor that needed more organization and order, like how the New York Stock Exchange became a key player in economic development. Even England bought shares in some of the American rail lines. Overall, railways were a tool for growth and development both nationally and internationally, leading to dramatic transformations in societies and everyday life. If we take a tour around the world, we'll find how deeply railways have influenced global politics and international relations. This mode of transport changed core concepts and connections on a broad scale. When we say railways reshaped the world's layout, we mean that very impact. We recall why Lincoln got interested in railroads. Amidst the war, he saw the potential in moving forces with them. And it wasn't just him, others too realized the applications of railways and sensed their potential. Central governments could extend their control over vast territories with the expansion of railroads. It wasn't specific to any one country, it was a thing in Russia, in Germany too. Before railways, central governments could only manage areas around the capital. But the further away you got, the harder governance became. That's why some countries pushed hard for railway development, leading to an expansion of government relations with society to fund this and making the government more involved in the economy. This focus on railways also influenced military planning of nations, contributing to Germany's rapid rise to power in Europe, disrupting the continent's power balance in a relatively short time. Always remember, no historical event or transformation has just one reason, there are always multiple factors at play. Railways played a crucial role in the union and consolidation of Germany. Structures like railways provided unity of force and economic and military capabilities for countries. In the Napoleonic Wars, Germany, stuck between several powerful nations and empires, faced numerous challenges, becoming a significant factor promoting the union of Germany. Railways turned into a key military tool for the country, capable of rapid moves between borders and fronts, significantly bolstering Germany's military strength. The Russian Empire, too, took consequential steps towards development and progress with the construction of its largest civil projects. These grand railways served as a solution for accessing Siberia's rich resources and expanding Russia's power during emergencies. And ultimately, even though a revolution occurred in Russia and the Tsarist regime fell, the issues and reasons that necessitated the construction of railways remained. Even today, the path of a country's development can be followed through the advancements it makes in transportation, especially in railroads. This technology blends with the cultural and historical elements of each location, producing different outcomes each time.